Hello and welcome to this episode of the Recruitment Podcast, where we celebrate academic recruitment and bring education to everyone.
Yeah.
You provided a fascinating collection of resources all about faculty and staff recruitment in universities.
Mm-hmm.
It's really like a crash course in how academia builds its teams.
Right.
There's this whole idea of shared governance, which on the surface sounds very democratic,
Yeah.
but apparently it can lead to these power struggles and things.
Yeah, and compromises.
Plus, we'll dive into the nitty-gritty of search committees, job descriptions,
Yeah.
even how you negotiate with potential hires.
Right.
It's really exciting.
Yeah, understanding this process is valuable, even if you're not in academia.
I agree.
It sheds light on how decisions are made in any complex organization, really,
Right.
and how to stand out as a candidate in any field, not just higher ed.
So let's start with this whole shared governance thing.
Okay.
It's a core concept in academic culture, but like I said, it's not always sunshine and roses.
Right. Well, shared governance is meant to foster collaboration and transparency by involving faculty, administrators, and sometimes even students in decision-making.
It sounds great in theory, but I can see how it could get messy in practice.
Absolutely. Achieving true consensus among so many different groups with different priorities can be really challenging.
And these sources definitely hint at some potential downsides,
For sure.
like drawn-out debates, bureaucratic hurdles, and maybe even compromises that don't lead to the absolute best candidate being hired.
Right.
One example that comes to mind is imagine a biology department that's split on whether to hire a geneticist or an ecologist.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
Shared governance in that scenario could lead to this long debate, potentially delaying the search, or even ending up with a compromised candidate who doesn't really satisfy either side.
Yeah, exactly. It's the classic tension between striving for consensus and needing to be efficient.
Right, especially in a competitive field like academia.
Absolutely. And it really raises the question of whether there are ways to streamline the process without sacrificing the valuable input of all these different stakeholders.
And speaking of stakeholders, the search committee obviously plays a huge role in evaluating candidates and making recommendations.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
These articles give us a glimpse into what goes on behind the scenes in those committees
Right.
and what factors really shape their decisions.
Yeah, it's important to remember that search committees aren't just thrown together randomly.
Right.
They're carefully chosen by university leadership
I see.
to make sure there's diversity of thought and relevant expertise and that they align with the university's goals.
So they're given a very specific set of instructions, or a charge, as they call it,
Right.
outlining their responsibilities and expectations.
Yeah. And that charge can be really revealing.
How so?
Well, it often reflects the university's unspoken priorities and even the political landscape.
Oh, interesting. So it makes you wonder how much autonomy the committee really has,
Yeah, exactly.
and whether their recommendations always carry the day in the final decision.
Right. That's a good point to consider.
So the search committee makes its recommendations, but ultimately the final hiring decision rests with higher-level administrators.
Right. Usually the provost or the president.
So that's where things get really interesting.
Yeah.
The intersection of the committee's picks and the university's big-picture strategic goals.
Right. Because universities, like any organization, they've got their own context and set of priorities.
Of course.
So a university might be looking to expand into a hot new research area.
Sure.
Or strengthen a department that's maybe struggling.
Yeah.
And that strategic direction can really influence what kind of candidate they're looking for.
It's not just about finding someone qualified.
No, not at all.
It's about finding someone who fits into the university's vision
Absolutely.
and can help them achieve their long-term goals.
Right.
And that brings us to the job description itself.
Yes, the all-important job description.
That crucial first point of contact between the university and the potential candidates.
And it's more than just a list of duties and qualifications.
Yeah.
It's a chance for the university to showcase its unique identity and values.
Right. And to attract candidates who are a good fit for their culture and aspirations.
It's almost like a dating profile for the university,
Haha.
highlighting what makes it a great place to work.
Exactly. A well-crafted job description goes beyond just stating the requirements.
Right.
It paints a picture of the university's mission, its commitment to its faculty,
Yeah.
and the impact that potential hires can make.
And for potential applicants, reading between the lines of a job description can reveal a lot.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like the university's unspoken expectations or those cultural nuances.
Right.
It's like they might say they want someone with excellent communication skills,
Uh-huh.
but what they really mean is, can you wrangle a classroom full of sleep-deprived undergrads at 8 a.m.?
Exactly.
So yeah, discerning those subtle cues can help candidates figure out if they're a good fit
Right.
and tailor their applications accordingly.
Absolutely.
It sounds like navigating the world of academic job applications requires a certain level of strategy and insight. Oh, for sure. It's not a simple process.
Well, let's bring it down even further.
Okay, I'm ready.
I'm really curious to hear more about how this all plays out in different university settings.
Okay, yeah, that's a great place to start.
Because a small liberal arts college is going to approach recruitment very differently from a giant research university.
Right. It's like comparing apples and oranges.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how do those differences manifest in the recruitment process?
Okay, well, let's take a small liberal arts college as our first example.
Sounds good.
Now, a successful candidate at a place like that is often more than just a subject matter expert.
Okay.
They've got to be a really good teacher.
Makes sense.
They might have pioneered some unique teaching methodologies,
Mm-hmm.
maybe a focus on experiential learning or community engagement,
Right?
things that tie directly into the college's commitment to holistic undergraduate development.
So while research and publication are still valuable,
Yeah, they're still important.
the real emphasis is on nurturing that close-knit learning environment and building those strong relationships between students and faculty.
Exactly. These small colleges, they really pride themselves on their small class sizes
Right.
and that individualized attention they can give to students.
Mm-hmm.
So they're looking for faculty who are passionate about teaching and mentoring,
Yeah.
people who see teaching as a central part of their academic identity.
I see.
It's not just a job, it's a calling.
Right.
On the other hand, a large research university operates in a completely different realm.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Their primary focus is on groundbreaking research and scholarly contributions.
It's all about pushing the boundaries of knowledge.
Absolutely. They want to make significant contributions to their fields.
Right.
So they're looking for faculty who are not only experts in their areas,
Mm-hmm.
but also prolific researchers.
I see.
People who can secure those big grants,
Yeah.
publish in top-tier journals,
Right.
and present their work at all the big international conferences.
It's like they're looking for academic rock stars.
Haha, yeah, kind of.
Individuals who are shaping the future of their fields.
Right.
And attracting all the top graduate students to their labs.
Exactly. And the ability to mentor those promising grad students,
Yeah.
build a thriving research program,
Mm.
and contribute to the university's research reputation.
Right.
That's all highly valued in these settings.
Makes sense, given these very different priorities.
Yeah.
I'm curious how the actual recruitment process reflects these differences.
Oh, it definitely does.
Like, do they look for different things on a candidate's CV
Absolutely.
or ask different questions during the interview?
Oh, for sure.
Hmm.
The interview process often mirrors the institution's priorities.
Okay, so let's break that down.
All right, so for a liberal arts college, the interview might focus heavily on teaching demonstrations.
Makes sense?
They might ask to see sample syllabi
Uh-huh.
or want to discuss the candidate's philosophy of education.
Right, they want to see if you're a good fit for their teaching-focused environment.
Exactly. They might also want to see evidence of your commitment to student success, maybe through innovative teaching methods or mentorship programs.
Yeah, I can see that being really important to them.
Whereas at a research university, the interview might be more like a deep dive into the candidate's latest research findings.
Oh, interesting.
They'll definitely scrutinize your publication record
Mm.
and grill you about your future research plans.
They want to know if you're going to bring in those big grants.
Absolutely. They're looking for someone who can articulate a compelling research agenda
Right.
and demonstrate the potential to secure significant funding.
They're making an investment in you.
Exactly. And they might also inquire about your experience mentoring graduate students,
Yeah.
collaborating with other researchers,
Right.
and your overall vision for building a successful research program within the university.
It sounds like the competition for these positions at top research universities must be fierce.
Oh, it's incredibly competitive.
But it's not just about your individual qualifications, is it?
No, it's also about how well you fit into the university's overall strategic goals.
Right. Because a university might be looking to expand into a new area of research
Exactly.
or strengthen an existing department.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll be looking for candidates with very specific expertise or experience.
Exactly, to fill those gaps.
So it's not just about finding any academic job.
No.
It's about finding the right fit,
Absolutely.
a position that aligns with your skills,
Yeah.
your research interests,
Yeah.
and your long-term career goals.
It's about finding that symbiotic relationship
Right.
where both the university and the candidate benefit.
And contribute to each other's success.
Exactly.
Now, this idea of fit makes me think about how this whole shared governance concept might function differently across these various university settings.
Right.
Does the level of faculty involvement in the hiring process vary between a small college and a large university?
That's a great question, and I think it likely does.
Yeah.
The experience of shared governance can really vary depending on the size and structure of the institution.
Right.
In a smaller liberal arts college, where faculty often wear multiple hats. Yeah.
And have closer relationships with the administration.
Right.
Shared governance might be more deeply ingrained in the culture.
It's more like a tight-knit community
Exactly.
where everyone has a say.
Uh-huh.
And decisions are made through a more collaborative and personal process.
Right. Whereas in a large research university with its complex hierarchies and layers of administration,
Yeah.
shared governance might be more formalized and less personal.
It might be more about committees and procedures
Exactly.
than face-to-face conversations and consensus building among colleagues.
That's a definite possibility.
So that's something to consider if you're pursuing an academic career.
Yeah, for sure.
The level of faculty involvement in decision-making, including recruitment,
Right.
can vary significantly between institutions.
Absolutely.
So it's important to find a place where you feel comfortable with the culture and governance structure.
Couldn't agree more.
We've talked about the differences between small colleges and large universities.
But location plays a huge role in attracting faculty too, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Geography can be a huge factor.
For sure.
For many different reasons.
In what ways does location impact recruitment?
Well, for starters, some regions are just more desirable to live in than others.
Right.
Whether it's because of the climate or the cost of living,
Mm-hmm.
the cultural attractions, or the proximity to family and friends.
And all those quality of life factors.
Exactly. So a university in a sunny coastal city
Right.
might have an easier time attracting candidates
For sure.
than one in a remote rural town with long winters.
Yeah, I can see that.
But it's not just about lifestyle preferences.
Yeah.
It's also about professional opportunities.
Uh-huh.
Some regions have a higher concentration of universities, research institutions, or industry partners in a particular field.
So computer scientists might be more drawn to a job in Silicon Valley
Exactly.
than a place with fewer tech companies.
Right. And for academics with families, things like school quality and access to childcare are super important.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Those are major factors.
So you see, it's like solving a complex puzzle.
It really is.
All these pieces, the type of institution, the research, focus, the location, personal lifestyle preferences,
Right.
they all have to fit together for both the university and the candidate.
And that's why it's so important for both universities and candidates
Absolutely.
to be thoughtful and strategic about this whole recruitment process.
Couldn't agree more.
Universities need to clearly articulate their needs and what they offer,
Yeah.
and candidates need to be realistic about their expectations and priorities.
It's all about finding that sweet spot where everyone's needs are met.
Right.
And both the university and the faculty member can thrive.
This has been a really illuminating conversation so far.
I'm glad to hear that.
It's clear that faculty recruitment is not a one-size-fits-all process.
No, it's definitely not.
It's this multifaceted landscape shaped by a ton of different factors.
Absolutely. And that's what makes it so fascinating.
Yeah, for sure.
It's really intriguing to see how different universities navigate these complexities and try to build exceptional academic teams.
Yeah, I'm guessing our listeners are wondering how technology is changing all of this.
Oh, that's a good point.
Applicant tracking systems are becoming more and more common.
Mm-hmm.
But are they helping or hindering diversity?
That's a great question.
Some argue these systems can unintentionally perpetuate bias
Right.
if they're not carefully designed.
It's a real concern that needs to be addressed.
Let's dive into that next.
All right, let's do it.
So we've talked about this idea of shared governance and the role of search committees.
Right.
But how does all of this actually play out in different settings?
Well, you know, a small liberal arts college is going to approach recruitment very differently than, say, a big research university.
Right. Their missions, their resources, even their cultures can be vastly different.
Exactly.
That's okay.
It's apples and oranges.
Yeah, so let's take a closer look at those differences.
Okay.
How does the recruitment process reflect those unique institutional priorities?
Well, let's start with those small liberal arts colleges.
Go on.
Now, at a place like that, a successful candidate
Yeah.
is often more than just a subject matter expert.
Right.
They've often got to be really gifted teachers.
Makes sense.
They might have pioneered some unique teaching methods. Maybe they focus on experiential learning or community engagement.
Right.
Things that really tie into the college's commitment to holistic undergraduate development.
So research and publication might still be valued,
Oh yeah, they're still important.
but the real emphasis is on creating that close-knit learning environment
Right.
and fostering those strong student-faculty relationships.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Small colleges, they really pride themselves on the small class sizes
Yeah.
and the individualized attention they can give to students.
Mm-hmm.
So they look for faculty who are truly passionate about teaching and mentoring.
Right.
People who see teaching as a central part of their academic identity.
It's not just a job, it's a calling.
Exactly.
Now, on the other hand, a large research university operates in a whole different world.
Oh, yeah, totally different.
Their main focus is usually groundbreaking research
Right.
and those big scholarly contributions.
They want to be at the forefront of their fields, pushing the boundaries of knowledge,
Right.
making significant contributions to their disciplines.
So they're not just looking for experts.
No.
They're looking for those prolific researchers.
Right.
The ones who can snag those big grants,
Exactly.
publish in all the top journals, and present their work at those big international conferences. It's like they're recruiting academic rock stars,
Uh-huh. Yeah, in a way.
individuals who are shaping the future of their fields
Absolutely.
and attracting all the top graduate students to their labs.
Exactly. The ability to attract and mentor those promising grad students,
Yeah.
build a thriving research program,
Mm-hmm.
and really boost the university's research reputation.
Right?
That's all super valuable in these settings.
Okay, so given those really different priorities,
Yeah.
how does the actual recruitment process reflect those differences?
Oh, it definitely does.
Like, do they look for different things on a candidate's CV
Absolutely.
or ask different questions during the interview?
Oh, for sure. The interview process often mirrors the institution's priorities.
Okay, so let's break that down a little bit.
All right, so for a liberal arts college, the interview might focus heavily on teaching demonstrations.
Yeah, makes sense.
They might ask to see some sample syllabi or want to discuss the candidate's philosophy of education.
Right, they really want to know if you're a good fit for that teaching-focused environment.
Exactly. They also often want to see evidence of the candidate's commitment to student success,
Okay.
like innovative teaching methods or mentorship programs.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Now, at a research university, the interview might be more like a deep dive into the candidate's latest research findings.
Oh, interesting.
They'll definitely scrutinize your publication record and ask a lot about your future research plans.
They want to see if you can bring in those big grants.
Absolutely. They're looking for someone who can articulate a compelling research agenda
Right.
and demonstrate that they have the potential to secure significant funding.
They're making an investment in you.
Exactly. And they might also inquire about your experience mentoring graduate students,
Uh-huh.
collaborating with other researchers, and your overall vision for building a successful research program within the university.
It sounds like the competition for those positions at top research universities must be insane.
Oh, it's incredibly competitive.
But it's not just about your individual qualifications, is it?
No, not at all.
It's also about how well you align with the university's overall strategic goals.
Absolutely.
Because the university might be trying to expand into a new hot area of research.
Right.
Or they might need to strengthen an existing department.
Exactly.
So they'll be looking for candidates with very specific expertise or experience to fill those gaps.
That's right.
So it's not just about finding any old academic job.
Yeah.
It's about finding the right fit. A position that aligns with your skills and your research interests.
Yeah.
And your long-term career goals.
It's about finding that symbiotic relationship
Right.
where both the university and the candidate benefit and contribute to each other's success.
Exactly. Now, this idea of fit makes me think about how this concept of shared governance might play out differently
Right.
across these various university settings.
Yeah.
Does the level of faculty involvement in the hiring process vary between a small college and a large university?
That's a great question, and I think the answer is probably yes.
Yeah.
The way shared governance is experienced really depends on the size and structure of the institution.
Right.
In a smaller liberal arts college, where faculty often wear multiple hats,
Yeah.
and they tend to have those closer relationships with the administration,
Uh-huh.
shared governance might be more deeply ingrained in the culture.
More like a tight-knit community. where
Yeah.
everyone has a say
Exactly.
and decisions are made collaboratively and personally.
Right. Whereas in a large research university with all its complex hierarchies and layers of administration,
Right.
shared governance might be more formalized and less personal.
More about following procedures
Right.
than having those face-to-face conversations,
Yeah.
building consensus among colleagues.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility.
So it's something to keep in mind if you're thinking about an academic career.
For sure.
The level of faculty involvement in decision-making, including recruitment,
Yeah,
can vary a lot from one institution to the next.
absolutely.
So it's important to find a place where you feel comfortable with the culture and the way they do things.
Couldn't agree more.
Okay, so we've talked about small colleges versus large universities,
Right.
but location plays a huge role in attracting faculty too, doesn't
Oh,
it?
absolutely. Location, location, location. It can
Okay.
be a huge factor for all sorts of reasons.
Like, what are some of the ways that location impacts recruitment?
Well, for starters, some regions are just more desirable to live in than others.
Right.
Maybe because of the climate or the cost of living,
Yeah.
the cultural scene, or whether you're close to family and friends.
All those quality of life things.
Exactly. So a university in a sunny coastal city might have a much easier time attracting candidates
I can see that.
than one in a remote rural town with long winters.
Yeah, I could see that too.
But it's not just about lifestyle preferences. It's
Right.
also about those professional opportunities.
Okay.
Some regions have a higher concentration of universities or research institutions,
Right.
or maybe even industry partners in a particular field.
So a computer scientist might be more drawn to a job in Silicon Valley
Exactly.
and to a place with fewer tech companies.
Right. And for academics with families, things like school quality and access to childcare are crucial.
Oh, yeah. Huge factors.
So you see, it's kind of like solving this complex puzzle.
It really is.
You've got all these pieces to consider: the type of institution, the research focus, the location, those personal lifestyle preferences. And they all have to fit together for both the university and the candidate.
And that's why it's so important for both sides
Absolutely.
to be really thoughtful and strategic about this whole recruitment process.
Couldn't agree more.
Universities need to articulate their needs and what they offer,
Yeah.
and candidates need to be realistic about their expectations and priorities.
It's all about finding that sweet spot where everyone's needs are met.
Right.
And both the university and the faculty member can truly thrive.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation.
Glad to hear it.
It's clear that faculty recruitment is not a one-size-fits-all process.
No, it's incredibly complex.
It's this multifaceted landscape
Yeah.
shaped by so many different factors.
Absolutely. And that's what makes it so fascinating.
I agree.
To see how different universities navigate all these complexities
Right.
and build those truly exceptional academic teams.
I'm guessing our listeners are probably wondering how technology is changing this whole game,
Yeah, that's a great point.
because applicant tracking systems are becoming more and more common.
Mm-hmm.
But are they really helping or hindering diversity?
That's the million-dollar question.
Some people argue that these systems can unintentionally perpetuate bias
Yeah,
if they're not carefully designed.
it's a real concern for sure.
Let's explore that a little further.
Okay, sounds good.
We've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
Shared governance search committees,
Mm-hmm.
the differences between small colleges and big universities.
Yeah, it's a complex landscape.
It really is.
Yeah.
So are there any universal principles that can guide successful recruitment?
That's a great question.
Like, despite all these unique challenges,
Yeah.
are there some best practices that really work across the board?
I think so.
Okay.
Despite all the variations, I think there are some best practices
Wow, good.
that can really enhance faculty recruitment no matter what the specific context is.
So let's dive into those.
Okay.
What are some things universities can do to attract and hire amazing faculty?
Well, first and foremost, I think it's crucial to define your identity.
Okay.
Like, what sets your university apart?
Right. What's your brand?
Exactly. What are your core strengths?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of academic culture do you want to foster?
It's like establishing your brand as an employer.
Right.
What makes you stand out from the competition?
Exactly.
Okay, so once you've articulated your identity,
Yeah.
you need to communicate it effectively.
Yes. And that means crafting compelling job descriptions
Right.
that go beyond just listing duties and qualifications.
More than just a dry list of requirements.
Exactly. You want to capture the essence of the university,
Yeah.
the opportunity it presents.
What's it really like to work there?
Exactly. Paint a picture of what it's like to be part of that academic community.
And be authentic.
Absolutely. Don't try to portray an image that's not real.
Candidates can see right through that.
Oh, they can. It's all about honesty and integrity.
Right. Building trust.
Exactly.
Attracting people whose values align with yours.
If you misrepresent yourself, you're just going to end up with dissatisfied employees and turnover.
Makes sense. So we've got clear communication, strong branding, authenticity.
Yep.
What else?
Well, don't just sit back and wait for applications.
Okay.
Be proactive. Go out and find the talent you need.
Like attend conferences network.
Exactly. Think outside the box. Target specific candidate pools.
Collaborate with professional organizations.
Exactly. Leverage social media.
Yeah.
Explore online recruitment tools.
Cast a wide net.
Right.
Make sure you're reaching a diverse and qualified pool of candidates.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you've identified some promising candidates.
Yeah.
What's next?
Well, the application process needs to be smooth and efficient.
Right. Nobody wants to deal with a clunky system.
Exactly. Make it easy.
Streamline the application.
Yes.
Mobile friendly.
Clear instructions, realistic timelines.
And communication is key.
Oh, absolutely.
Even if it's just a quick email.
Yeah.
Acknowledge their application.
Keep them updated.
Right. Show them you respect their time.
Timely and transparent communication goes a long way.
Okay, so we've talked about attracting candidates.
Yeah.
Streamlining the application process. What about the interview itself?
Oh, the interview.
Any tips for making it valuable for both sides?
Well, remember, it's a two-way street.
Okay.
It's not just about assessing the candidate.
Right.
It's also a chance for them to assess you.
To see if the university is a good fit.
Exactly. Like a first date.
Uh-huh. I like that.
You're both trying to see if there's a connection.
Okay, so how do you create that positive interview experience?
Make it welcoming, relaxed.
Be prepared with good questions.
Absolutely. Questions that go beyond the CV.
Dig a little deeper.
Exactly.
Ask about their teaching philosophy,
Yes.
their research interests.
Their long-term goals.
And don't forget to show your own enthusiasm.
Oh, for sure.
Let your passion shine through.
Passion is contagious.
Right. It can make a big impression.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've covered communication, outreach, application process, interviews.
Yep.
Anything else universities should focus on?
One last thing. The overall candidate experience.
Okay.
Treat every applicant with respect.
Right.
Whether they get the job or not.
It's about more than just filling a position.
Exactly. You're building a reputation.
Make them feel valued.
Yes, throughout the entire process.
From application to decision.
It reflects well on the institution.
Word of mouth is powerful.
A negative experience can spread like wildfire.
And discourage talented people from applying in the future.
Exactly. Every interaction matters.
It really does.
It all contributes to your image.
And your ability to attract top talent.
Right.
This has been such an insightful conversation.
I agree.
We've really uncovered a lot about faculty recruitment.
We have.
And some great strategies for making the process more effective.
And positive.
Yes. So to recap for our listeners,
Okay.
we've learned that faculty recruitment is this multifaceted endeavor shaped by institutional identity strategic goals.
Location.
Yeah, and the evolving landscape of higher education.
It's a lot to consider.
We've also highlighted some best practices,
Yeah.
like clear communication, proactive outreach, a smooth application process,
Effective interviews.
and creating that positive candidate experience.
It all makes a difference.
And finally, we've emphasized that faculty recruitment is an ongoing process.
Yes.
It requires constant evaluation and refinement.
You always have to be adapting.
If you want to attract and retain the best minds in academia,
Absolutely.
institutions that embrace these principles
Yeah,
will be well positioned to build those amazing faculty teams
for sure.
that contribute to their success for years to come.
Couldn't agree more.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of faculty recruitment.
It's been a pleasure.
And don't forget, you can view all higher ed jobs in your field at academicjobs.com. That's it for this deep dive.